Uh, I'm Margaret Ann Windsor, and I know I'm making a mess of this, so this is video too, and I'm just, if you want to put it together, because I'm tired, and if it doesn't come to a close now, this is total, I don't think it's going to. I'm talking about being out at Scott Hill. And I've got to the point where Sherry, that works there, had this has been deliberately orchestrated out there. I don't know who did, if it was the feds who have done the other, or if somehow, I don't know. Let me say that. Now, or it could backfire on me. They've just done it, and I mean, it's who I am, is why all this has been done. Now then, I'm so tired being sick out there, and it's ridiculous. But anyway, she kept talking to me and saying, well, you can't break a lease. I said, I can if it's for medical reasons. Well, what's wrong with me, if you're around toxic fumes, which mine have been force fed me, that it certainly has, you either leave it or they have to fix it, or you're going to get sick. Has inflammation. I have heart arrhythmia now, and God knows what else is wrong over the years that this has been happening. Anyway, I go back out there. She promised that they had a woman coming in there at the end of August, that if it didn't work out for me, that she would take the lease, and I'm sure that she did say that. Now, I was trying to make sure and trying to be overly correct, and so anyway, I went back out there under those conditions. I got out there, and it was worse, if anything else. The carpet had been put in, and I don't know that the old carpet wasn't what bothered me. It's what they were doing, putting in there. Anyway, now then, the air conditioning has bothered me. At first, when I first went out there, it wasn't. There were smells that were almost like they were thyme coming through the window. I could keep the window open at night there. They would come in at about 5 o'clock in the morning, every morning that I was out there till just before I left. I thought it was a paper mill. It's about 30 miles away in Covington, and it could have been. I don't know. But then it suddenly stopped when the odors that were coming from about noon for a few days there in succession, out of the air conditioner, while it was on or not. This is what's been going on. They've used the air conditioner to run me from room to hotel, and me trying to leave, and I'm forced to come back. And, any moment, I don't have any rights. So anyway, I did tell her that, Sherry, that it got to where it was ridiculous what was happening. The elevators were both out. Usually one of them ran, but they had a sign on one. It was out. Went out with somebody in it more than once. The other one, watch your step, but one woman tripped on it, hurt her arm, and then let's put it this way. I was so sick when I was out there. And you're talking about codes. Well, let me say this first. This, if they're going to show something, would be the Scott Hill connected with, if they're going to tell it, I think, with the Scott Peterson. He's on death row, and they have been talking about, I was without TV out there, about evidence that was not included. Well, I don't know if they're talking about this, but they don't want mind control and killing people and all these school shootings in Virginia Tech. They don't want it to be told, especially in court. And if I can keep my train of thought, I'm not even going to try to tell what was out there about the week and a half or whatever I was out there. August 1st, I left and came back again here. And anyway, I got a nasty note. My phone was stolen, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. A woman brought me back, and that's all I'm going to say. Real slickaroo. I wasn't ready for it. But anyway, the fun part is couldn't get into it. And when I had it fixed yesterday, I took it back where I bought it 2 years ago, and he couldn't get into it. And suddenly, this I thought it was another employer walked up, and he fixed it. After all these months, I couldn't get it fixed. Well, he fixed it right there. So I came back last night and I put up a video or two about Scott Hill and the connection. Now then, the carpet, let me say this and I'm going to quit. But let me say this first. The air conditioning was making me sick, so sick it was pouring out gunk. And she told me, Sherry did, if you'll stay. She offered it day after day. And I don't know that I did come back. Did I on August the 1st? I can't remember. I think I did, but it was a few days before then she started telling me on a Monday, yeah, because that's on a Wednesday, that she would get me the digital. The new ones that were air conditioning that was put in after I took all those pictures the first time I was out there in June of 2015. And they, after I'd left and the pictures went up, they came out there and put a lot of new air conditioning throughout the building, and they were digital. So Sherry told me, if you'll hang on, I'll get it in today. Well, she didn't. It just got worse, things did. Second day, third day, something was really wrong, because then, and this, I'm not going to put what they did to me. And they did do it that day. And that scared the hell out of me that night. I thought I was going to die, so I left the next day. But before I left, the lady next door to me, by the way, she had a police scanner. I liked the lady. She was a little older than me, but she got around real great. Her name was Sarah. And anyway, she stood there and she says, you know, I hear your air conditioning running. I said, no, it's off. So, and it was off. I hadn't had it on. It put out gunk, but it did whether I had it on or not. So there's different ways that you can sabotage air conditioner that nobody thinks about it. And normally people have their own private air conditioners or live in an apartment and can control it. I can't. And, well, that was an apartment. I couldn't control it. It was okay. But anyway, I was leaving, and I guess they knew I was leaving, the maintenance guys. And, man, I'd been saying hi to them and friendly. Suddenly they get on the elevator, and they said, when you were gone, we cleaned that air conditioning out. There it goes. Well, I thought it had gone off. Excuse me, I'm having all kinds of trouble. Battery's down, I'm going to have to go. A couple of them jumped on the elevator deliberately with me and with another woman, that was bringing me back up here. I paid her $35, and the phone went, quote, missing. She brought it back. Anyway, they said, well, we cleaned that air conditioner out. Well, remember, I hadn't had any trouble or anything with air conditioning before when I was there the first time. It was stuff coming through the windows. And I will say this, that it was the air conditioning that came on at 12 o'clock. Something came out of it, and then about 3 o'clock it'd go off. But I never really complained about the air conditioning. It was the stuff they put in it, and then they were going to do the carpet and all that. Anyway, and the glue that went on the garbage disposal and all that, they made happen. So then they told me, and I said, when did you do that? Well, why? And I asked them, my question was, why has Sherry been telling me you were going to put a digital in? And it's what had happened the night before that I knew I had to leave, because one of the residents out there was kind of a friend when I was out there and used to be on Facebook and Google+. When I went out there this time, the only thing he said to me, he turned around and said, be very careful. So now then I'm leaving and come back up here, and this is all I'm going to say about this. I'm going to try to connect it. And they either go into court and it's finally told, or maybe nothing's ever done. The Katrina, the black lady, has to do with the name Katrina going out of the tornado when it hit, or hurricane that was so bad when I was going out there to 2001 to the Scott Peterson out there and turned over evidence. It was evidence, and went to Modesto several times, and I paid for it and came back. And then the Pam and Sherry have to do really important with names surrounding me. And I'm trying to think right. The Scott, of course, the Scott, named Scott, and Simpson, as in Wallace Simpson was supposed to marry my mom. She's a lady that's lived out there for a long time. In fact, I met her when I was out there before. But if you could get the guest list, if you want to call it out there, you would see some of what I'm talking about really easy. Anyway, what do I want to go now? Also, Katrina's a black lady. The carpet that they made so much over that they were supposed to put in before they rented it to me has to do with Wayne Williams, who was supposed to murder the black children in Atlanta back in 1979-80. When I was doing the book and when they almost killed me. Mary Welcome was the famous, and I talked to her on the phone, and she was supposed to send and get a deposition, and suddenly I was almost killed again. And I even worked for the district attorney, Fred Simpson, in Huntsville in 1980. After they almost killed me, I went to work for him in May, I guess, middle of May, and he was ran for re-election, and he didn't get elected. And that's when John Lennon was killed while I worked there, November the 6th, I think, by a program shooter. And the wrestler from Minnesota that was mayor, Ventura, Jesse Ventura, how he knew that, I don't know. He came on and said that John Lennon was shot by, Mark David Chapman shot him. He was a program shooter. So Mark David Chapman, certainly, Mark is my son's name, David is my dad's name, Edward VIII, but that's the name that he's used. David's his name, and C for Chapman is like C for Childers. And I forgot where he was from, but anyways, I'm going to have to get off this before it goes off. Anyways, the local paper here, Roanoke Times, quite a few years ago, found out, and they put it on the paper where Mark David Chapman had lived on 9th Street here. His family had years ago. And I'm not going to mention Elvis Presley. If you ever see it, all these people saying they know how he died is a bunch of bull. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And now that I'm sitting here, okay, when I got back from Scott Hill, I left and got back over here. I went to get my medicine, which I'd called in quite a few days ago. And the black lady there, I'd never seen before at Kroger, out at Hollins, that's where I usually go. And I thought, my gosh, she looks like Katrina. Now, I don't know that it was Katrina, but she's telling me, she was saying things she shouldn't know about. No, I didn't have lisinopril enough to get me through, and I had to see the doctor. My doctor never told me that. Anyway, I made an appointment, and I walked in yesterday. Lo and behold, I've never seen a black woman work there, and I have seen my doctor since about 2008 or 9. And never seen a black person working there. One is a receptionist. One took my blood and made comments that would get your attention about something else. It wasn't derogatory necessarily, but it's about something else that she shouldn't have been talking to me about. Now then, it won't make sense to some people that don't want to tune the truth out. It will. Anyway, it encompasses the carpet. The carpet is what they found in Atlanta that they said connected Wayne Williams with the black children's murders. He was only convicted of 2, which he did. They were done in patterns, and the rest of them they never stopped. They went on, and he didn't kill them. He was locked up, and the police commissioner there, Lee Brown, went on to be mayor about 3 or 4 times of Houston, Texas. He, mayor about maybe a couple of times, but he was police commissioner there 3 or 4 times. He was a drug czar in the Clinton administration. And I'm going to leave it there. Maybe you've got enough that you understand it, and I don't know if the blacks are going to come in and force this to be told, or if nothing happens again. And it's told, I told it. But whether it's anybody made to pay for the crimes and the networks made to tell it, I don't know.